In a world where...
Is this thing on?
Barely.
This episode of the Just John podcast is brought to you by the random fact that if you inhale a pea, it can sprout in your lungs. What up, homies? I'm your host, John Medina, and this, my fine ladies and gentlemen, is the Just John podcast, episode 23. Today on the show, Apple streaming, Star Wars, episode 8, hashtag Flat Earth, an app review, and more.
Allow myself to introduce myself.
Apple has long been rumored to be putting together its own internet TV service, something like the Sling Box, which is through Dish Network. Well, not the Sling Box, but Sling TV. And even though there's been tons of rumors for years now, we've never really heard a whole lot of evidence that it was coming. We finally heard something about it, though. According to ESPN's president, John Skipper, the company is having trouble hammering out deals with other networks and content providers. So we're seeing Apple run into an issue where it wants to do something, but it needs the legal permission from these other companies, and they're just struggling to get a deal out. Apple's either not willing to pay them enough or not willing to cooperate with whatever. And this is an interesting situation for Apple because they're not in this situation very often. Typically, Apple has all the power. If Apple wants to do something, they do it, and you just go along with it. They don't have to ask people for permission very often in terms of they literally can't do anything, can't come out with a competition, cannot do anything really to combat it. I mean, sure, Apple could make their own channel and just have a streaming service that had Apple TV or whatever they wanted to call it, iTV, I guess, and they could have original programming and maybe buy the rights to old shows, kind of like Netflix and Hulu and Amazon do, but we've already got Netflix and Hulu and Amazon, and they have a lot bigger catalog, and it would take Apple way too long to try to get into the game, and then by the time they got into the game, it would be so clustered, and they would just struggle to get the amount of subscribers that they wanted, kind of like what's happening with the whole Apple Music deal. But beyond that, Apple has not killed the deal yet. They're still going for it. They're still going to try to make it happen and make it work. But they're not putting any tentative date on it even. They're just kind of saying, well, we're working on it and it'll be ready when it's ready. I wonder why they're having so much more trouble than Sling TV has had. Maybe it's because Dish Network's already been in the cable game or the satellite game, and so they're used to the rules and regulations, and they have the negotiating ability and negotiating power to convince the companies to come to their service. But at the same time, Sling TV their whole business model is we are going for the customers that are not going to get cable. We're trying to get the customers that will not get your satellite service. So, okay, they don't want Dish Network. Maybe they'll be willing to pay a little bit less and get this Sling TV. And so they're just trying to get to where they can open up to these other potential customers. Apple, on the other hand, probably has a completely different idea. They want to take your cable customers. They want to take your Sling TV customers. They want to take the Netflix and Amazon and Hulu customers, and they want them all to watch their service. Now, it's not to say that these other companies don't want the same thing, but they know that that's probably not how it's going to work, and if Apple has their way, that they will make it work that way. Apple doesn't like playing nice with other companies and being in the same ecosystem. They want it Apple's way or the highway, and that's just the way that they work. Now, some could say that that limits your ability as a consumer to pick different things, and that may be true, but that's just the way that Apple is, and I think that's the core of their issue. The core of their problem is not that they can't necessarily hammer out these deals. It's that the companies want to make sure that they're going to charge Apple enough to have their service that if they lose their actual satellite and cable subscribers, they can still make money. Because after all, no company is in business to not make money. Sure, some not-for-profits maybe, but that's a different story, different motives, different services, completely different. If you sell stuff and you make things and you create services, subscription services, you're in it to make money and you got to protect your interests. And so both companies are trying to, or the Apple and the other companies are both trying to do this, and it's just creating a little bit of tension. I'm sure it will all work out within the next year or two, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Force will be with you. Always.
Star Wars Episode 8 is being delayed. Disney's going to make you wait even longer for Episode 8. It's pushing back the release date of Star Wars to December 15th, 2017. This is like 7 months later than initially scheduled because I think it was supposed to come out in May before. A lot of people are kind of upset about this, but I don't have a problem with it. The reason why I don't have a problem with it is because, one, we're getting our first anthology film, Rogue One, this December 2016. So we're only waiting a year between Episode 7 and the first anthology film. On top of that, I would much rather them take their time to make a good film. I don't care if it takes a whole extra year. If you're going to make a good film that I'm really going to like and that everybody's going to like and that's just going to be solid, then take the time that you need. I would rather see them take the time and not rush it, because if they rush it, it could just be horrible. I mean, look at The Hobbit, for example. The Lord of the Rings were 3 of the greatest movies of our time. They were epics. They were told beautifully. They were shot beautifully. They had a lot of time and energy poured into them to create the best movies that they could. The Hobbit, not so much. It was supposed to originally be done by Guillermo del Toro, and it fell through. He had other things he needed to do, so they brought Peter Jackson back, but he didn't have the opportunity to put all of the time and energy that he put into the original movies. And even though they stretched out a tiny book into 3 movies, if he would have had the time to put in what he wanted to put in, I think it would have turned out a lot better than it did. I'm not saying that they weren't good movies, because they were still enjoyable and good to watch, but they were not on the level of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Beyond that, The Force Awakens was supposed to come out in May, like all the others before it have. And they gave it the very same delay so that they could give JJ more time to work on the film. And I'd hate to think of the corners that they would have had to cut to meet that May release. And I feel like, without knowing, because we obviously can't know, but I really feel like the movie turned out to be that much better because they went ahead and took that extra time and waited. And I think it will be the same for this new movie. I don't have a problem with the delay as long as it's not a delay because they're running into problems in terms of keeping staff or changing out actors or complete story rewrites or things like that. That will raise some red flags and you're kind of like, oh, I don't know. But if they just need more time to make the movie the way they want to make the movie, give them the time. It'll be okay. I mean, we're already getting one in December. I would rather have December 15, December 16, December 17, December 18, than have December 15, December 16, May 17, and then December 18. You're going from year, 6 months, year and a half. And I'd rather take that 6 months and stretch it out to the year so that I can have a movie every year instead of making it a weird schedule.
Don't tase me, bro! Don't tase me!
Adele cannot stop breaking all the records. A few episodes ago, we talked about all the different album sale records that Adele was breaking and that she was just basically the queen of the world at that time, and she is still breaking records. Hello reached a staggering 1 billion views on YouTube in 88 days. That's the fastest that any video has reached 1 billion views on YouTube. Psy's Gangnam Style became the first video to receive 1 billion views, but it took it 149 days to reach that number. Adele hit 1 billion in almost half that time. That is just crazy. That video actually received 27.7 million views the first day that it was uploaded. Now, of course, Gangnam Style still has the record with like 2.5 billion views, I think, but at the time of this recording, Adele's Hello is at 1,058,173,464 views. That's freaking amazing, and it gives hope to a lot of other artists that feel that the music industry is dying in terms of album sales and music video views and things like that. It's not necessarily that it's dying. People still will buy your album. They will still watch your music videos on YouTube and wherever. You've just got to make the quality material that they want to consume. I think that she'll hold this record for a little while, but I wouldn't say more than like 5, maybe 6 years total.
Betweer.
Doppelgangers. We all have a doppelganger. I mean, with 7.4 billion people in the world, you're likely to have somebody out there look enough like you that they could be mistaken as you from afar or by somebody that doesn't know you super well. Namia Gini and Irene Adams, who are from Ireland, are doppelgangers, and they decided to do something crazy. So they got in touch through a website that's called Twin Strangers, which Adams actually created. And basically what the website does is it uses a tool that takes facial recognition software and matches you to potential lookalikes. So they got in touch and realized we don't just look a little bit alike, like we look like each other. You can find pictures of them online, and they really, really do look like they could be sisters or even almost even twins. So what they decided to do was take a DNA test and see if they were somehow related, sharing a common ancestor or anything like that. The samples were used for 3 tests that determined the probability of the two being sisters, half-sisters, or related at all based on lineage traced up to 20,000 years ago. The probability of them being full siblings was only a 0.0006% chance. The probability of being half-siblings was 0.1%. So the next thing that they did was they tried to see if they shared a common ancestor going back 20,000 years ago. The test results didn't come back with a percentage because I guess it's really hard to break that down into a percentage. But the test results that came back said it's not likely that they have a common ancestor up to 20,000 years ago. I'm no scientist, but I find that terribly hard to believe. I mean, there's got to be a connection somewhere down the line. Maybe they didn't go back far enough, but 20,000 years is quite a long time. And I seriously think that they have some relation somewhere. Then again, as I said, I'm not a scientist and, take what I say with a grain of salt, but I just find that crazy. We are about halfway through the show, and I am going to play a song for you guys. The song is called I Shine, You Shine, and it is by the Introverts and the Intellectuals.
You already know, you know this is Introverts and the Intellectuals. That's us. When I shine, you shine, baby. Here to teach you about love. Yes, we are. Be a good human. Yeah, you know it. Desperate, delicate elephant in the room with a new speech impediment developed and groomed into a tight-knit regiment that benefits you. If you let the sentiment invade, embellish and bloom. You need some medicine? Get it from the fellas irrelevant. We're showing you love because we're setting the precedence. That light shine, baby, don't extinguish your flame. Don't let a critic diminish what took a minute to make. We're all human, I'll help you glow. You do the same for the next crew to show that what they're seeking is change. Get on the same page, baby, get your head in the game. Parade the hate away and tailor thread to be tamed. In the scheme of things, a dream would tear you down, a wish for greener things. But love will keep you coming back, proceed to bleed to be supreme. You wanna be the king? Show us what you got. But if you never show the love, then you can kiss my shade.
I got a lot of positive energy, give it plentifully, making sure that it's definitely within every entity. The 15th year of the 21st century, who's next to be the first speaking or we will never be. Moving through the future, polluting the minds of every being. The density and negativity on MTV and all these other media stations may be the death of me, yo, but I won't let it be. Never have I ever seen television get to me, cause I don't let them threaten me. And I suggest that we band together heavily to stand against the man that has us culturally lessening. These sketchy record executives get to edit me, but with the internet I'm a weapon that can say anything. Potential energy, effortlessly kinetic. See, collectively we answer the message that will be left to
Call
see.
me an optimist, positively opposite. From your pop it and lock it to the raunchies mosh pit. I'll be rocking to the dawn breaks, baby, I'm on it. The song ain't finished till I'm dead in the hospital. Who's that? As a matter of fact, the crew's fat, true fans. We impact the masses with the boom bap. Oh yeah, a lot of rappers, but never need new tracks. Soon the attraction will catch you can watch the shoes tag. See, your pursuit is truly trivial. If the end result you don't get any growth, you're missing no isn't abandoning your passion. And quit being the dead horse dragging the bandwagon. And I'm just trying to make this world a little lighter, find a pearl in everybody alive here. I don't mean to sound cryptic in my ciphers. It's simple, I shine, you shine, we all get brighter.
This day and age is crazy, people living in confusion. We need to find a way to come together and get through it. So I'm trying to make a difference with the music that I'm doing, and I hope that if you're listening, you find a way to use it. I'm trying to make improvements, give your mind a little boost, and be a positive influence on the people that will view it. Most people misconstrue it when I tell them what I'm doing, cause all the evil that they're viewing got their vision askewing. I wish they knew what they were losing. I planned it as a destiny, I caught a glimpse of the vision, and now I want the rest to see. But all this negative energy's holding me back, so I let go of everything when I flow on a track and expose where I'm at, spread it all over the map, leaving a hold of impact whenever I show on my raps. Put love in my music, what I know is a fact. We're bringing hip-hop back like a ghost of the past, yo.
Again, that song was called I Shine, You Shine, and it was by the Introverts and the Intellectuals. They are a rap group from New Zealand. If you liked it and you want to check out more of their stuff, I will have a link to all of their different social media in the show notes.
And some things that should not have been forgotten were lost. History became legend. Legend became myth. And for 2,500 years, the ring passed out of all knowledge. Until, when chance came, it ensnared a new bearer.
But my lips hurt real bad.
Twitter might be dying. Sunday night, after a report from Recode, Twitter confirmed that several of its top executives were leaving the company. That in itself is not enough to think that a company's dying. When companies go through changes, sometimes they clean house. They get rid of the top executives. They say, okay, what you guys were doing is not working. We're going to have to choose to part ways, and we're going to bring in some fresh blood. So that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing, but they've had a lot of changes really quickly over the past few years. It's an ugly list of departures for the company, and the company has seen its user growth pretty much plateau. It's stalled, and its stock price has been down 55% over the past year. All of that stuff raises some red flags. So what exactly is Twitter's problem? Well, the first thing is that defining Twitter is difficult. Yeah, okay, social media. Yeah, microblogging. Okay, but what exactly is microblogging? Sending out random small 140 character messages. Okay, and that's the problem. That's about it. There's not a whole lot to describe when you're talking about Twitter. When you define Facebook or another company like that, you have a lot more that you can say because they do a lot of different things. Twitter is kind of difficult. It's not easy to use. You don't see as many people on Twitter as you see on Facebook because it's just not as easy to understand. There's a code, a secret code, like a handshake, if you will, that you have to crack in order to be able to fully understand and utilize Twitter, TweetDeck, lists, and a bunch of different things like that that you have to kind of master to fully get your Twitter experience. That's why you don't see your grandparents on Twitter, but your grandparents are on Facebook. Now, a lot of people like that. They say, Facebook is where I talk to my family. I have my family members on Facebook, so I don't post a lot of risque or weird, funny things on there because my family's on there and I don't want them to think less of me. So I use my Twitter for that. And if my grandparents get on Twitter, then where am I going to put all of my poop jokes that my grandma won't like? Well, and that's a valid concern for the user, but for a company that has to rely on having a high user growth and continuing to grow their user base, that's not a concern. They need to figure out how to get the olds, if you will, into Twitter. And I'm not saying that there aren't some older people on Twitter, but just the masses of them aren't. I mean, like my mom and my grandpa are on Facebook. Neither of them are on Twitter. They know what Twitter is just because I've talked about Twitter, but they don't have any urge to get Twitter. I mean, like Facebook, my mom was like, I want to set up a Facebook. Will you help me? But my mom will never come to me and say, I want to set up a Twitter. At least not in the form that Twitter is in now. They're going to have to figure out something. They need to change the game. They need to define themselves. They need to set themselves apart. And the current plans that they have in action are not going to do either of those things. They're going to make you be able to say a tweet in 10,000 characters. That's just copycatting Facebook. We have Facebook. We don't want that for Facebook. Twitter is supposed to be different than Facebook. If I needed 2 Facebooks, I'd set up a second Facebook. I don't need 2 Facebooks. That's why I have a Twitter. So the question is, what do they do? Well, Twitter gained its popularity and its steam because of its speed. You can say something really fast and just really short and get it out in the world. You can keep track of news and what's going on different events. And when celebrities have beef with each other, you can keep track of it a lot easier on Twitter. They have the timeline or your Twitter feed that actually goes in order of the tweets. So like you'll see one that was 3 minutes ago and then 4 minutes ago and then 5 minutes ago, but they're getting ready to change that too. They're going to start using an algorithm that kind of like what Facebook uses, that picks stuff that it thinks it's going to be more important to you. And I absolutely hate that. I hate it. When I scroll through my Facebook feed, I do not want to see something that you posted 6 days ago. I want to see what you posted today. And if you didn't post anything today, I don't want to see it because you didn't post anything that day. If I want to see what you posted 6 days ago, I'm going to go to your profile. I'm going to Facebook stalk you and see what you posted 6 days ago. But that's beside the point because that doesn't actually give us a solution for what Twitter's going to do. And to be honest, they have a rough road ahead. They need to innovate. They need to find something that sets them apart, like Periscope. Periscope helped Twitter a lot. And so they need to think of different things like that get the users back, that make people excited about Twitter again. They need to figure out how to make it a little bit easier to use, but not Facebook.
Because I'm going to put my nutsack on your drum set.
Hashtag flat earth. This is probably the dumbest thing that I have heard in quite some time. So some celebrities like Tila Tequila and B.o.B have decided that they believe that the earth is flat. And so they started this trending topic on Twitter called hashtag flat earth, which has tweets on it like the media is lying to you. And after doing some research, there's evidence that the earth is potentially flat. Hashtag flat earth. Shut up. Because that is stupid. Now look, I am fully behind everybody deserves to have their own thoughts and their own beliefs and blah, 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 yada, yada. But come on, this is something that we have known for hundreds of years. The earth is not flat. If you want to think that the earth is flat, build yourself a time machine and go back to the 1700s with everybody else that thought the earth was flat, because we know it's not. And Tila Tequila apparently thinks she's a god or some dumb shit like that. Because if you go to her her Twitter, it is just ridiculous talking about her church, like the Church of Tila Tequila and blah, blah, blah. That is just silly. Silly. B.o.B actually posted a picture to Instagram. It was of him standing in front of the horizon, and he said on it, "These cities are 16 miles apart. Where is the curve? Someone please explain this." So a little bit later, he posted another picture to Twitter, and world-renowned astrophysicist and badass Neil deGrasse Tyson actually answered B.o.B on Twitter with some actual facts. Solid science as to why the Earth is flat. Well, B.o.B didn't like that, and so he decided to write a diss track to Neil deGrasse Tyson called Flatline. And it sounded a little something like this.
Use your common sense. Why is NASA part Department of Defense? They divided up the seas into 33 degrees, feeding kids masonry. Bro, be careful what you read, Flatline.
After B.o.B released his diss track, his nephew actually, Neil deGrasse Tyson's nephew actually released a diss track answering B.o.B, and it was called Flat to Fact, which is a play on words of Drake's diss to Meek Mill called Back to Back, and it sounds a little something like this.
I'm bringing facts to combat a silly theory because B.o.B has gotta know the planet is a sphere, G. Whoa.
It's clear who the winner is in this. Obviously, B.o.B was just doing it as a publicity stunt to try to get some attention because his career hasn't been flourishing as much as it had in the past, and he didn't like that. So he did this to start a bunch of drama, but the sad thing is that a random guy that has an uncle that B.o.B decided to diss came out with a better track than B.o.B did. If the Earth is flat, how do you explain ball is life?
What year is it?
Speaking of Twitter beef, we had a lot of it this week. Kanye and Wiz Khalifa had some Twitter beef as well. Kanye changed his album name from Swish to Wave. Okay, so whatever, who cares? Well, Wiz made a really snide remark on Twitter, supposedly. At least this is what Kanye thought was a snide remark. And Wiz basically said, "Hit this KK and become yourself." Kanye took that as he was talking about Kim Kardashian, Kanye's wife. Wiz Khalifa later tweeted, "KK is weed, fool. Reasons why you're not wavy. Go back to Swish." Kanye did not take lightly to any of that at all. I mean, Kanye replied with a whole slew of tweets that were just obnoxious, rude, and if, as Kanye says, he is the greatest, why don't you try acting like the greatest? He's acting like a little child. Okay, so maybe Wiz was talking about your wife, and I understand that you want to defend your wife and defend her honor because that, as a husband, that is part of your duty, is to protect your wife and defend your wife's honor. You did not do that in any decent way. In fact, you just basically made yourself look like a child, and then people wonder why she's with a child. I just don't understand his process for all of that. He is supposed to be a grown man. He is a father. He is a husband. He's a role model to a lot of people, to a lot of young people. Why don't you just take the high road once and just say something along the lines of, "I don't appreciate you disrespecting my wife. I will name my album what I want. If you don't like it, don't buy it and don't listen to it." End of conversation. Everybody's going to be like, "Oh, Kanye, look what he blah, blah, blah." It's not going to create as much drama and entertainment, but it's the right way to handle the situation. But I guess, Kanye and Wiz and Kim, none of them are really known for handling the situation in the right way.
I guess you could say things are getting pretty serious.
And now it's time for an app review. The app that I'm reviewing this week is called Retail Me Not. And it's not necessarily a shopping app, it's a coupon app. So what it does is you open up the app and you can click any store, or you can search for any store. And they don't have every store, of course, but they have all the big, national retailers. So like say you're at Kohl's and you want to buy a shirt or some pants or whatever. You type in Kohl's, and it will show you if they have any coupons available. So you may have like a 20% off coupon or this or that or whatever. And then all you do is click on it, and then they can scan it from their phone they can scan it from your phone or enter the code into the computer, and you get the discount. This app is freaking fantastic. I open it up anytime I'm at a store about to buy anything, whether it was a planned or unplanned purchase, just to see if I can save any extra money. And a lot of the times it has saved me some extra money, and it's a great feeling. It's an awesome app. It's available on Android and iPhone, and you can, even if you don't have a smartphone or you don't want to download the app, you can go to retailmenot.com and then print out the coupons. It's a great app, so go download it and save yourself some money next time you're shopping.
Do the chickens have large talons?
I have set up a Patreon. You can go over to patreon.com/jfmedina2010. I'll have links to it, of course, in the show notes and on the website at justjohnpodcast.wordpress.com/support. And what Patreon is it's a value for value website. If you find value in the show and you enjoy what I do, you can go over to patreon.com and you can say, I'm going to throw a 25 cents, a quarter, at John every time he does a show. That's $1 a month. This is a monthly pledge, and you can stop at any time. You can even just stop for 1 month and then resume the next month. This show will always be free. Do not worry. Do not think that I'm going to start charging for this show. I would absolutely never do that. But if you find some value in the show and you want to give some of that value back to me, you can go to patreon.com/jfmedina2010 and pledge a certain amount of money. You get different rewards, access to a Just John Slack chat, a producer credit on the website, and different things like that. There's different tiers that you can pledge, and so the higher the tier, the more rewards you get, and I've got t-shirts and different things like that in there. So go, if you want to support the show, go check it out. If you enjoyed the show, please show me some love by liking, thumbs up, subscribing, sharing, rating, reviewing, retweeting, or whatever it is that's used to symbolize the love of the show on the platform you're using to view it. You can follow me on Twitter at JohnnyM_Revo and find me on Facebook at facebook.com/JustJohnPodcast. You can listen to the show on SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, and some other shit. You can email the show with questions, comments, concerns at justjohnpodcast@gmail.com. And remember, without you, I'm just some dude talking to himself on the internet. Until next time, peace out, fam.